that you were having on leadership and the appropriateness of leadership in the particular context that we find ourselves in at this hour. In our first segment, which we have about 4 minutes left on, can you share with us some of those thoughts at the beginning of our program?
Sure. I think it was very clear. The question that I've been asked was, what do leaders today need? And I actually said, don't really have leaders who have what it takes, meaning we need leaders who are
Dr. Crum?
prepared.
Dr. Crum? I think we have a
Yes, hear you.
small technical difficulty. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, if you don't
Yeah.
mind, come out of the program, log back into the program. I will opine for the next 3 minutes until we work out this technical difficulty, and then I think you'll come across a little clearer. Thank you, Dr. Crum. Look forward to hearing from you momentarily. I wanted to, as we work through this technical difficulty, just reflect upon where we are in our country, and an amazing comment that I got from a member of our program who listens on the regular, Phyllis Wallace. Phyllis Wallace wrote me this morning a note about the collapse of the Democratic Party. One of the most important observations after 17 years in the Congress of the United States was the conservative right-wing movement that I noticed in the Congress to change the Constitution. Interestingly enough, the Democratic Party did not organize itself around any vision that would amend the Constitution of the United States. It just simply hasn't. It turns out, in the most ironic of ways, that the political party that is against amendments or not supportive of amendments is actually the political party of the status quo. In this regard, the Democratic Party is the nation's most conservative constitutional organization in the United States. And while its constituency is the most in need of constitutional reform with guarantees, therein lies the irony. While Republicans maintain a limited vision of democracy and the role of government, their constitutional amendments attempt to achieve these goals as a major organizing activity in all 50 states. It is the Democratic Party that claims to be the party of education, of health care, decent, safe, and affordable housing, equality for women, a clean, safe, and sustainable environment, but these are legislative and policy-oriented goals for the Democratic Party. They are not goals that seek to add these fundamental rights to the Constitution of the United States. And while the Democratic Party is focused on public policy and unlimited talking debates over public policy, the Republican Party's ground game, led by the ghosts of Jefferson Davis and generals like Robert E. Lee, Stonewall Jackson, Longstreet, and Pickett, is to change the Constitution, which I find to be the most powerful political force in the United States body politic. In the most brilliant political and military tactics I've ever seen, conservatives are pushing all of the liberals into the bluest corners of our nation, where their liberal policy prescriptions are acceptable and where our interests are unfortunately aligned and our backs are against the wall. For these conservatives in both Democratic and Republican parties, this war did not begin in Vietnam, but at Fort Sumter in South Carolina. In short, why is the Democratic Party ineffective? It wants to win a debate rather than institutionalize the gains of the rights from Brown versus the Board of Education to the civil rights and voting rights to Roe v. Wade, which they never advanced even as a piece of legislation to codify the decision and ultimately reestablish the American people's faith in the Constitution itself. I believe the obituary of the so-called modern Democratic Party must acknowledge this fact, and it certainly must be part of the eulogy. Democratic liberal loyalists will often scoff at the idea that their temporary policy prescriptions can address the long-term health needs of the Republic. Congress has shown us, as well as the courts and history, that the well thought out liberal ideas are temporary at best. We've placed a lot of our faith in those ideas. We've placed a lot of our faith in being right without the institutional organization, a movement to convince all of the American people that our Constitution is deficient to sustain our so-called gains in the Constitution over time. In fact, the Democratic Party doesn't even want to talk about faith or even use faith analogies. They are so anti-faith that they have no idea how to restore the people's faith in the Constitution. At this hour in American history, the deficiencies in the Constitution of the United States on the question of human rights could not be more glaring. When we come forward, more on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show with Dr. Aza Karam.
After nearly 20 years in Congress, he knows how to get at the issues that matter the most to you. Every day, he takes a deep dive into politics, social justice, and the stories that shape our community. Unapologetic, unmissable. You're inside the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
See website for details. Bills Happen is not a lender and does not make credit decisions. Hey, bills happen. So when you need extra cash fast, go to billshappen.com. Have you been turned down? Are your credit cards maxed out? Do you have bad credit? Go to billshappen.com. All you need is a job and a checking account. You can find a lender and get up to $5,000 cash as early as tomorrow at billshappen.com. Billshappen.com is the smart way to get a personal lender now. So if you need extra money for car repairs, medical bills, family emergencies, whatever you need cash for, go to billshappen.com and you can get the money you need as soon as the next day, up to $5,000. At billshappen.com, our process is safe, secure, and all online. No one to deal with in person. And Bills Happen does not charge you any fees to use our service. It's easy. When you need a lender, just remember, when bills happen, go to billshappen.com. billshappen.com for the cash you need now. billshappen.com.
Are you ready to be a part of the conversation that will help shape our nation's future? Get ready to join us for the Left Coast Forum, Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech, where progressive voices will come together to tackle the issues that matter most to working families across Los Angeles and beyond. From economic justice to climate action, from healthcare to housing, we're bringing together the brightest minds and most passionate advocates for real solutions and real change. With workshops, 2 major keynote addresses, and a closing reception with great music and good food. It's the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. In this hour, Dr. Aza Karam, who currently is a member of the United Nations Secretary General's High-Level Advisory Board on Effective Multilateralism, is our very special guest. We had a technical difficulty in the first segment. Dr. Karam, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you sound so wonderfully clear. I'm so honored that you're here. Dr. Karam, these are obviously very difficult and very challenging times in the country and around the world. The question I asked in the first segment was this. there are different models of effective leadership. Obviously, high level effective multilateralism requires an understanding and an appreciation not only of ourselves in the leadership capacity, but of other selves and the ability to respect, care for other selves, kind of built around one of the great commandments to love your neighbor as yourself. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this question of leadership, the kind of leadership that's necessary for a time such as this.
Well, Jesse, it's going to have to be the leadership that we may have had in incredible figures who should not have been solitary figures ever, but like Bishop Desmond Tutu, like Nelson Mandela, people who are not simply in a position of leadership, but people whose positions with others and in life exemplify the kind of leadership that we all need right now, meaning brave, unequivocal solidarity, unrelenting commitment to the common good, not to personalized or group self-interest. It needs to be a leadership that will take us forward precisely because the polarization and the challenges and the hurt being done to people at all levels, the different kinds of normalization of violence are as they are today. We are having leaders who do same old, i.e., by virtue of their position, whatever that is, they are considered leaders. No, we need people who serve communities who may not be seen at first glance as leaders, who may not be even termed as leaders, but their actions for the common good, sometimes, if not often, at great cost to themselves, but intended for the greater good. We need that kind of servant leadership that is quintessentially brave, that will take the plunge, do the leap of faith, if you will, for others' good, not just for mine or yours or those who think like us, look like us, and talk like us.
You know, I find that I think you took the words right out of my mouth because I was going to mention leadership, but servant and obviously sacrificial leadership. And I think when you reach back and grab Nelson Mandela or you grabbed Bishop Tutu, and I'm sure there are scores of other models that you could give us, it seems to me that the life experiences of that kind of leader propels them to the forefront of the order or of the in time response to what's taking place in our world that is part of their understanding over time of all of the historical factors that came together in the present that ought be dressed from that kind of leadership. And by that I mean a kind of, when you come through a fiery furnace, you emerge as a Nelson Mandela. When you started out one way, Mohandas Gandhi in South Africa, but through the ashram and through the process of watching his people and then a desire to identify with his people, he comes through something to arrive at the Great Spirit. And Martin Luther King Jr., who had to, if you will, remove his own middle class background and middle classness to identify what the average person was going through in the segregated South here in the United States. It seems to me that this servant leadership isn't always just someone who put their name on a ballot and runs for office and says, hey, I'm doing what the poll told me to say. This is a leadership that's born of character.
Absolutely. And we are living in times that are churning, that should and are indeed enabling a leadership to emerge. If these conditions, Jesse, do not lead us to identify the kinds of leaders that we need and the people who serve at cost to themselves, then I don't know what it's going to take. I shudder to think of what it's going to take. But you're absolutely right. There are many that you have cited that have gone through the absolute fire to emerge. But we must also bear in mind that the character that they had already, even before they went through the fire and the flames, that was a very unique, giving, altruistic, principled, faithful character. Now, it doesn't have to be faith in faith in religion as we know it today. It's even faith in human rights. In fact, that's precisely what we're missing. We're missing faith in human rights as our way forward. And that is kind of precisely what we need people to be believing in as we go through the fire. So we don't need to wait until the person comes out of the fire. Honestly, we're in it now. And it is ultimately a test of the metal, the essential character of people. Those who are principled, believe in the equality that the Creator created us with, quite frankly, but also have a vision for what it is and will be to serve, and who are ready, willing, and able to pay a price for what they believe. Because we are in a mindset of immediate gratification on one hand, and two, things are supposed to come easy. Things are not supposed to come easy, Jesse. Things are going to cost. We need to be in the space of public service, understanding that there is a cost involved and being prepared to pay it. And it isn't always a very pleasant cost. Sometimes it's hard, it's tough. It's either going to be prison or it's going to be marginalization, alienation, people speaking negatively, people even trying to harm you physically. That is what we have to be fortified, understanding that we will face challenges, but we also need to identify who our friends and allies are and work with them, and all of us be prepared to serve everyone, knowing that we may get hurt. But we've lost the ability to create alliances. We've lost the courage to take what it takes, to pay what it takes, and we believe still that a position marks your leadership.
Dr. Crum, when I began my career in radio, which is coming up on its first anniversary, I began that week, that Monday through Friday, with some eminent theologians, Dr. Obery Hendricks and Dr. Walter Fluker, a renowned theologian and biblical scholar on the question of the work of Howard Thurman, and others. Michael Eric Dyson was on our program. And when we made it finally through the end of the week, I asked each, Dr. Robert Franklin, each of those guests this question: why hasn't and I hate to look at it through the lens of race in this particular question, because I think the question is so universal, why hasn't the MAGA community, or if you will, the white community, produced, if you will, a Martin Luther King Jr.? Why have we not seen that leadership model emerge in that part of the body politic?
I'm going to answer you as a North African who has taught and lived and continues to try to serve.
I think you might have moved your microphone.
I'm still here. I hope you can still hear me, Jesse.
Now I can hear you perfectly. Yes.
Great. I'm going to answer that question as a North African who has lived and worked and continued to teach about the region of North and Southern Africa. So I'm going to tell you from my perspective that, quite frankly, the colonial era that we have lived in and are still living the impacts of has created a certain power dynamic where those who come from the Western Hemisphere tend to be predominantly white, though by no means all white, but those who come from the countries who understood colonialism to be their rightful inheritance because they were doing good. Remember, it was always about doing good. It was the white man's burden. But that has produced a certain way of thinking and of seeing the world. I would call it an attitude of entitlement that, by the way, unfortunately, you can still see and sense in a slightly younger generation today. But that attitude of entitlement is still deeply prevalent in the Western Hemisphere, not just in North America, but most certainly across Europe. And it is as if I exist to serve, if I am willing to serve, then surely I deserve what I should get. Whereas if you look at all those leaders that you have mentioned, they did not come from an attitude of entitlement. They did not come from privilege. They had to walk through the fire. So there's a very different set of experiences that ethnicities, races, genders have gone through in our world, Jesse. And we can't just, in a sense, if we are to be different, we also cannot judge the others and say, why can't you be more like us? But we have to understand that our experiences shape us, and colonialism is still very much with us as a remnant. It does not go away. Relationships of power that were brutal never go away. They
Doctor
continue generation to generation.
Dr. Azza Kram is our very special guest in this hour. Dr. Kram, let me continue to press that because surprisingly, and I think I'm constantly amazed by the spirit energy of our guests, because that's exactly the same answer they gave. They had a profound sense of entitlement. They've never had to produce one. They've never had to produce women who fight for equality and human rights. They've never had to see the perspective of those who've been left behind or locked behind or damned or disrespected or mistreated or maltreated. They've never had to do it, and everyone uniformly arrived at the idea that they struggle with entitlement.
If I may, just a wee little point, a caveat there. Women from the white classes of privilege, of traditional privilege, historical privilege, have fought hard for their rights, Jesse. Women never get it easy, no matter where their class or race or background is. It usually is pretty darn hard to get it. So I think we also owe recognition, and that is where I guess there's also a very big difference between different cultures. We owe recognition of those who have struggled, who have fought, and most certainly of women and a select group of men who have fought hard for equality, for justice within their own communities and for others. So I would not want to dismiss the women who have struggled for their equal rights, even in the whiter communities. I do think it's important to pay tribute. I do think we need different leadership that acknowledges that the harder the struggles have been, the more there is less, or let's say, the harder the struggles, the less the sense of entitlement. The more the privilege, the more the sense of entitlement.
I think that the facts bear out exactly what you just said, and so I certainly don't want to come off as dismissive for even white women who have led struggles like Susan B. Anthony and others who have fought for equality for women and have paid a great sacrifice and contribution to the country. I do want to say, however, when I bear the facts in our own political context, to which I can statistically justify, when, we see how the body politic reacted to Hillary Clinton's election, or we see how white women abandoned Kamala Harris for president and still voted for Donald Trump, notwithstanding, it seems that when we threw everything at Donald Trump, that abortion, his treatment of women, the cases that he had found himself as a defendant in, by the time it was clear that he had, in my opinion, disrespected women and has low regard for women who happen to be white and who happen to be blonde, they still voted for him. And so I recognize that the struggle of women of color is, they've really been the backbone of the freedom struggle, even for women in that context.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They have, Jesse. And we need to keep one thing in mind, that it wasn't simply about Hillary Clinton or about what we saw happen. There was a bigger context to it. Many of those who refused, there were people who refused to vote, Jesse, for either of the candidates, whether it was Kamala Harris or whether it was Donald Trump. There were many who refused to vote for either. And it wasn't necessarily exclusively a gender-related issue. It was.
I think I lost her microphone again. Dr. Crum, I think I lost your microphone again. And I think I'm going to chat for a second, and then we're going to come back and bring you back in one more time. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, more with Dr. Azza Karam.
The biggest names.
The best conversations.
You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Reverend Al Sharpton, Martin Luther King Jr.'s son, and thousands marched on Wall Street today, pushing back against the Trump administration's rollback of diversity, equity, and inclusion policies.
No justice! What do we want?
Sharpton says the protest is a reminder of the power of Black Americans and their dollars, while the administration calls DEI initiatives discriminatory. Black Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser says Trump's federal crime crackdown has reduced carjackings and made neighborhoods feel safer, but she remains concerned about residents living in fear with federal law enforcement patrolling the streets. And the Washington Nationals are hosting HBCU Day Friday at Nationals Park, featuring the Morgan State Marching Band, recognition of Howard's MEAC champion softball team, and a post-game show with Ja Rule and Ashanti. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
At the U.S. Open Wednesday night, Jelena Ostapenko of Latvia learned a very valuable lesson. Do not mess with a sister from Chicago. Taylor Townsend, a 29-year-old African-American, was pretty much an unknown tennis player before beating Ostapenko in straight sets 7-5 and 6-1. When the players shook hands, Ostapenko told Townsend she had no class and no education. Ostapenko claimed Townsend was disrespectful for not apologizing for a point when Townsend's shot bounced off the net. Ostapenko said Townsend violated a rule in tennis by not apologizing. There is no such rule in tennis, even from an etiquette standpoint, where a player has to apologize for scoring a point. Townsend stayed in Ostapenko's face during the heated handshake and let her know she's a strong black woman. Townsend moves on to the third round Friday to play Myra Andreeva of Russia. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
At the tone, please record your message.
You ready?
Drop it! Mr. Tavis Smiley, preach it. Thank you, man. Politics in this country is crazy. You put things in perspective that even I didn't. The right is playing fast and loose with facts and scapegoating everyone under the sun, especially black and brown people. As a white man, I do not agree with this, and I am on my black and brown brothers and sisters' side. Fight the good fight. Know that I am part of the resistance. Let's fight the power.
Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least like to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, I'm Joe Cordell, founder of Cordell & Cordell. Divorce is complicated, especially when your small business or professional practice is involved. At Cordell & Cordell, we understand that these assets raise unique valuation and allocation issues. For 35 years, we've helped doctors, lawyers, and small business owners navigate divorce with confidence. Call us at Cordell & Cordell. Let me tell you, I understand on a personal level, your business is much more than a job. It's your legacy.
1455 Frazee, San Diego. CordellCordell.com.
Hey, listen to this. All I needed was a new starter. Got a great deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits just right?
For me, it's the little things, like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed.
From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need at prices you'll love, guaranteed to fit every time. eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Yeah, yo, come on. Here come the drums.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, got to give us what we want.